Well folks, it happened. After 12 long years, Counter-Strike Global Offensive is no longer officially supported by Valve. It has been frozen in time, left to the mercy of the community servers. I mean, it's not dead or anything, you can still play it, but still, the news of CSGO's support ending warranted a video. While time moves on and players try to embrace Counter-Strike 2, let's take a trip back to 2011 and take a look at the PAX Build of CSGO. The build you see on screen is dated August 8th, 2011, almost 8 months before the official release of the game on April 21st, 2012. I tried looking around for some information, but I can't really tell how and when this build was leaked, but the one you see on screen is a patched version. This PAX build was patched by Degesso, Miko, and Otten. I downloaded it from the Project Beta website. Now, full disclaimer, I wasn't around when the CSGO hype train was going on back in 2012. I was instead busy playing Call of Duty and Skyrim, so if you notice something that I didn't, pardon me for that. Anyway, this build of the game uses a Portal 2 icon on its executable, and if you Alt-Tab out of it and check the task manager, Windows will say that it's Counter-Strike Source. Now, that's not a surprise because CSGO originally started development as a console port of Counter-Strike Source in March 2010. Hidden Path Entertainment wanted to port it to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. As it was being developed, Valve thought they should turn this port into a proper new entry in the series, and thus Counter-Strike Global Offensive was born. In the footage, you'll see some of the menu and the UI elements use the Xbox controller button icons, and the overall style of the menus is very much catered towards console players. You'll also notice some elements being used from CSS, like this icon for example. For the PC version, the menu actually did look like this on release, but that was until the panorama menu came along in summer of 2017. Also, an interesting thing that I noticed was an option for split screen mode, which I'm guessing was being made for console players before it was cut out of the game. Now, let's get into the game itself. Starting off, we have the HUD, which basically looks similar to the final version, albeit with some differences. Then there's the view model arms. There were only 2 of them. CTs used the gloves one and Ts used the bare ones. The drastic difference in this version is the animations and some of the weapon models. All of the animations are basically the motion captured versions, whereas the final game used a more tweaked version of this mocaps. There was also the Left 4 Dead 2's Scar H in the game that was cut, probably because there was already a Scar rifle in the game. The Ts used a flip knife, while the CTs used a bayonet. Both of these knives were brought back in the Arms Deal update in 2013. While the weapons may look slightly different here and there, here are some major differences. The Glock 18 was called the Cobra 18 and used a Left 4 Dead 2 model. The Dual Berettas used textures that were quite similar to the Dual Elites. The P90 had a EO Tech sight instead of the iron sights. The game also had a TMP that was cut and replaced with the MP9. And lastly, the C4 bomb had a lot more tape on it. The weapons were permanent. There were no skins, no cosmetics, no cases, nothing like that till the Arms Deal update happened. Basically, in a way, this was Counter-Strike Source, but much prettier looking. The lead crew model had no bandana on their face, but rather a pretty fancy looking beard. There was this model as well, which looks kinda cartoony if you ask me. There was also the pirate model, but he pretty much looked the same as the final one, apart from his mask texture being different. There's also a less detailed model of the anarchist as well. The Yakuza were going to be a faction as well, but were cut and later brought back as agent skins. The GIGN and IDF looked the same, but SEAL Team 6 was a little different, and GSG 9 had minor changes. The coolest cut CT factions were the Georgian Riot Police and the MP-SSC. You can see the Georgian Riot Police in this build. The MP-SSC model didn't have any textures, so they weren't added into this patched build. But here's a recreation model of it though, by Scudgel. There's also a scavenger game mode that's basically a nod to the frag yard maps of yesteryears. The weapons are placed onto the ground, you have to pick them up and you can't buy any other weapons. This game mode didn't make it into the final release. Now in terms of maps, the PAX build only had DE Dust, but this patched build has all of these added as well. From what I can tell, again, I don't have much experience in the early years of CSGO, most of these maps are the first edition ones, as some like D-Nuke received updates later down the line. I remember when I first played CSGO sometime around 2017, I was kind of bummed out to realize that the game still ran on the Source 1 engine, but I kind of see what they were going with. Sure, CSS and CSGO used the same engine, but the branch of Source engine on the CSGO was much more advanced. It looked much more detailed and had a lot more visual fidelity in it compared to CSS. The sole reason why I never got into CSGO as much as I did into CSS or CS 1.6 is because of the culture it was starting to build. I loved the much more tight-knit feel of the older communities, their servers, their maps, and the website that supported those games. CSGO came along and made everything feel so much quote-unquote commercial. That's not to say CSGO is a bad game, it's definitely not, but the loot boxes, the cosmetics, the skins, the gambling, the cheaters, it all made it look bad. But regardless of me liking it or not, you can't say that CSGO was not an impactful game. It had very much a great impact on the community. It was a prime catalyst in jump-starting the e-gaming phenomena that's still going strong today, and in a very prominent and impactful legacy, it sure left its mark. That's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to these benefactors for supporting the channel. Taiwanesium, Bubba, Quiltman, Unusual, 501st Clone Boy, Interloper CS, TTG, Robocop, Noel, Nobody Important, Franco Senlehi, Cheemsburger, Justin Imbergriff, Pterosaur, Otakan Nachos, Lamdre, Roadkill, Walter, Taylor, Hobgobbies, NoClick, Geode, Fisher Grice, Hawk Assault, Mr. Spaban, Jelen, A Normal Street Lamp, TRR Droid, and Bipolit. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.